Let me hand over to the very capable Ronke Phillips to chair this session, which is in collaboration with Africa Gathering, whose founder is Mariam, on women and leadership. Thank you very much, Ronke.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, I now have the full panel. Three dynamic women who have all not just reached the glass ceiling, they've smashed through it. I don't actually feel worthy to sit here with any of them, to be honest. Starting from that end, we have Mariéme Jamme. Is that the correct pronunciation? Jamme, okay. And then we have Edna Adan, and next to me here, Rainatou. Now, what I hope to do is say a little bit about each woman, let them speak about themselves and their organisations for 2-3 minutes, and then we'll come back and have a Q&A. So, Mariam, I am going to punish you. You were the last one to arrive. I know it wasn't your fault. But tell me if I'm wrong. I've got a few facts that I've managed to glean about you, that you're from a Senegalese background and you run a technology consultancy business, which I believe is called One Global Solutions. Spot on.
Yes.
Spot one.
Yes.
One Global Solutions. And it helps businesses get a foothold in Africa, Asia, the Middle East, and is known for promoting technology and better education in Africa. Now, you are amazing. I know that you've been named on the Forbes list as one of the 20 youngest power women in Africa for 2012, and nominated by the Guardian African Community Network as an African woman to watch, which deserves a round of applause, I think. So we're all watching you now and listening, so take it away.
Well, you know, it's humbling. It's really, you know, it's very humbling to have all these accolades. You know, it's if I just look at my background, you know, I didn't have education. I was doing a documentary the other day, and the journalist was crying by the time we finished. I said, well, if you start crying, we're never going to finish the video. So, so you know, I just come I came very in a very, very difficult childhood, and I didn't have education until I was 16 years old. So, you know, and I think, you know,
and this is all in Senegal.
Yeah, this is all in Senegal. So in Kaolack. So you know, being a woman leader, you just came to me. I guess, you know, because I didn't have any choice really to, you know, when I was saying to the lady, you know, the journalist, that I had two choices, you know, either to become a prostitute or to do something for myself. So then I chose the option to study hard. So I did a lot of work, you know, cleaning jobs, you know, working bars and restaurants. Just did many, many things really to make it work. And I paid for all my education myself, no mom, no dad, you know, and worked very hard. So, you know, and you know, everything paid off when I, you know, had my office in Canary Wharf with 19 people working for me. And for me, I don't even go there. You know, I think sometimes I can't believe in. I was reading the other day, Stephen Fry was saying that sometimes you don't believe in things that happen to you. And I guess everything is kind of like a build-up. And that's why I want to give back to women across Africa. And that's why when I meet people, young women in the continent, you know, I have to give back because, you know, they may have the opportunity to do well in their lives compared to what I had, but I guess I was chosen to do this. I guess all my suffering in my childhood and all the pain I've been through and all those lonely days and cleaning hotels and doing beds and walking in the snow in the cold in the UK, today, you know, it helps me help these young girls in Kinshasa, or all those amazing girls in Senegal. You know, they're not my families, but I have to help them back. It's also helped me to hang around with amazing women. I've got amazing mentors, amazing women mentors who are my moms now, and they represent my dad, represent my family, and we're kind of like a community where we help each other. That's why I created Africa Gathering.
Let me just rewind a little bit. How did you, one, end up being in the UK, and two, did you always have a vision to work around IT and technology?
This is very funny, but you know, I didn't have any. So I've been into 28 foster houses when I was young. So my mom was, and this is again come from women leadership. When you see leadership in Africa, that's why I'm very focused in that. When you are in some certain class in Senegal, you know, you are. It's very dangerous for women. Women in Senegal, especially in West Africa, is very dangerous. My mom come from a big family in Senegal, and she was not allowed to marry the man she wanted to marry. So then, you know, they had to give us away just to not shame the family. So, you know, that's so we've been always having rejections in the family since then. So since I was young, you know, I had these young NGOs helping me when I was growing up, and I became a social case in Paris. So that's how I studied. That's how I started studying, and I was helped by a Moroccan lady who took me, and that's how I became a very academic person. So, and I was very shy and just study and study. So technology was always something I wanted to do. But I remember this story when I was in the village. When I was with this woman's house, one of the foster houses where, I had to. She had a white TV, the black and white TV, and she was going to the market to sell the vegetables, and when she come back, I wanted to watch TV, and I opened the TV, tried to make it color. She really killed me when she came, and she was beating me like crazy, and I said, I just want to make it color. She said, you don't touch my TV, you don't make it color. So I knew I was going to do something in tech, and I take it like that. So, and today, I like technology, and I think it can change the world. So.
I don't think there was any other career for you.
But she beat me to death, so I had to put the TV back.
And that's how you ended up here. I'm sure there are lots of questions for you. I have a few questions for you. But before we do, let's hear from Edna, who is another amazing woman, a former foreign minister in Somaliland. And before that, served as a Minister for Family and Welfare Development. And that's just two of the things you've done. You've been a director and founder of a maternity hospital, which is named after you. And you're a pioneer fighter against female genital cutting or mutilation, whatever people want to call it. So a round of applause just to encourage her, and then we'll hear something from her.
Thank you. Well, I think my life starts with a drought that we had in my country way back in the early 50s. And my father, who happened to have been the most senior Somali health professional. He was a medical assistant, the most senior Somali in the field of health and known as the father of healthcare, was serving in a region as far east in the country as you can, in Ergabo. At that time, I was about 10 or 11, and I was on holiday from Djibouti because I went to school in Djibouti for the simple reason that there were no schools for girls in British Somaliland Protectorate. Education for girls was considered unwise. You're not going to send a girl to school. Now, what good is going to come out of that? Keep your girl at home. That was the mentality of the people. And being a very curious child at the time, I was learning to read and write with the boys in the neighborhood, because boys were allowed to go to school. And when my parents discovered that I could understand and put words together, they sent me to Djibouti, which was the nearest school for girls. So each time I would be on holiday, during the summer holidays, I would be wherever Dad was posted. And he happened to have been posted in Ergabo at a time of a drought. He had to visit the people who were affected by the drought several times a month. And whenever he left for the camps, he would leave a little note for me and say, while I'm gone, make sure they remove the sutures from this person tomorrow. Make sure they do whatever, give the medicines to this child. You make sure this child eats every day while I'm gone. You make sure this old woman swallows her medicine. So he was leaving me little to-do lists for the sick people in the hospital. Now, I don't know how to remove sutures. I don't know how to give injections. I don't know how to do this. But then I was the boss's daughter, so whoever was supposed to be doing this, I would go to this person and say, did you feed this, or did you give that injection, or did you? And whenever Dad came back from the camps for the tours, he would come straight to the hospital with a, unshaven for 3 or 4 days, not go home, but come to the hospital first. And sometimes unhappy about something that hadn't been done, that should have been done. And often saying, oh, I wish I had a better pair of scissors. Oh, I wish I had a pair of, forceps. And I just made a mental note that one day I would learn the skills that it took to look after these sick that Dad would have approved of. And one day I was going to build the kind of hospital my father would have liked to work in. So that was really what sowed the seeds in my mind, that one day I would be doing this. You go through school, and in 1953, the very first school for girls was opened. I had just finished my primary education in Djibouti. In the interim, I was a translator for a doctor, and her name was Judith Ash. And Dr. Ash must have whispered in somebody's ears to say, this little girl, I was 13 and a half, 14, has better potential than being a translator. So when the school was opened in Borao for girls, I was conscripted into this as a pupil teacher. I had 28 girls.
At 13, 14?
Yeah, 14, yeah. There were British teachers who spoke no English, teaching Somali girls, British girls who spoke no Somali, Somali girls who spoke no English, and I was in between. That's how I began my teaching, and that's how I began my, if you may call it, leadership, organizing.
And that's the seed that sowed where you were today.
Where
I'm going
I
to
am
stop
today.
you there, because we've heard where you began, and I think what we'll do now is hear from Raina. I've called you Raina, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Do people call you Raina? Oh, that's cool. Okay. We'll hear from Raina, and then we'll take some questions, because I want people to be able to tease the rest out of you, if you like. So, from Guinea, hail from Guinea, okay, and is so tall she should be a model, don't you think? Founded Make Every Woman Count, which is a group which I think most of us have heard of, but never met the person behind it all. So, and that's a group of women who operate out of Africa, America, Europe, and use their passion and experience to promote the rights of women and girls in those countries. And you have a background which includes working for the UN, the World Health Organization, and UNICEF. You tell us more.
Well, where to start?
Well, what inspired you? We've heard that both our other panelists were inspired as children. Was there something that inspired you as a child?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I was quite young, I would say 12, 13 as well, anytime I would go to school in my neighborhood, I would see little girls doing housework. And I did ask my mom, well, why they couldn't go, they have got same age as why they can't go to school, you know? And I found out because they can't afford it, and also the parents, those girls are from the village, so they can't afford to go to school. So I think that's why I decided, well, I don't know a lot, but the little bit I know from school, I'm going to teach those young girls anytime I come back from school. So I set up evening classes. From 6 to 8 p.m., I had to, I would teach those young girls whatever I have learned at school. But I had a few conditions from the parents, which was you have to make sure they do the housework first before they do the, you teach them, which we're able to respect. And I think for me, that's where my passion really comes from. It's about looking at those young girls who were so passionate to study, but they couldn't afford to go to school. And I started there, and I worked for UNICEF, worked for the Guinean Children Parliament, where I was a Minister of Women and Girls, where I was, going through the country, doing a campaign on FGM, girls' education, and all that. And when I moved to the UK, I finished my studies, so I decided, well, how can I make a difference? I have my whole life, I always wanted to work on women or human rights, make a difference in people's life. But as someone who finished your studies, you do not have money, you broke, you don't have relation to get you there whenever you want, and I guess to get you a job where you're able to make a massive difference is really hard, because most of the starting point is that you get little jobs, and by the time you get to the point where you really want to make an impact, you lost the momentum. So I decided to start this organization, which all I needed was a laptop and internet, and I knew I would have that. So I sat in my room where I started this website. I just noticed that one of the things we neglect a lot when it comes to women issues is access to information. because we do the work and we do assume that they already know what is being done, but that's something we forget a lot. Information is really a big issue when it comes to women work. So for us, we thought, well, instead of going inventing the wheels, it's already fantastic work happening on the ground. Why not to have this platform where we could, on a daily basis, gather information, news, daily news update, resources, whatever is happening on the country, women issues. So they have this platform where instead of going to the UN, to all these organizations around, find this one spot where they could access all this information, one click. And that's how we started. So I have a team based all over the world. I'm the only one in the UK, so we have people in all over Africa, in Europe, in America, even in India. So for me, it's about trying to come together whenever you are, trying to give this, the bit we have. Because whenever we are, we could make a difference. It's either you have to, you want to do it or not. There's always a way with technology today, and we're trying to use it that way. So we are, one of the things we really do that many organizations don't on the ground is we do a report where we monitor African government, which is a bit crazy. We monitor all the 55 countries every year on education, on violence against women, on political participation, on women economic empowerment, and another one I can't remember. But every year we do this report. We started in 2011. So why are we doing this? Many people think, well, it's a lot of work, obviously access information and stuff, but we think one of the issues we have on the continent is accountability.
Yeah, holding them to account.
Yes, and that's when it comes to government, when it comes to daily work, whatever it is, every problem we have in Africa is accountability. We don't really hold accountable our government. So we thought in 2010, the government in Africa launched African Women's Decade. So for us, I just, okay, well, if they have come together and decided we give 10 years to women in Africa, we have to make sure we hold them accountable for that. And this report we do every year is to showcase what they have done, what they haven't done, and we send this report to women on the ground who use the report to lobby their government.
And do the governments respect that report? Do they recognise you as an organisation?
Recognize us, we're still young, we're 3 years old, we still don't have money. So I think it takes time but I think the report, because it's one of its kind, it's really gaining momentum. So now it's something that organs are using, but we also get women's rights, women groups in Africa who send us email to thank us how they have been using this report to lobby their government, to say, look, this is what you haven't done or you have done, because we don't have a data, we don't have a way to compare things. How can we see how far we have gone or how far, where we come from, where we're going? And that's really, really important when we talk about women issues, not just putting project on the ground, but also monitoring work that is being done and holding our government accountable.
Okay, listen, I'm really conscious that one, that time's marching on, and two, that this is called Women in Leadership. And I just wondered, it may be a controversial question, but do we think that leadership is different for African women? All of you are at the top of your game. Is it different being an African woman and dealing with leadership than it is being a Caucasian woman? Do we have special or different demands on us? I wonder, what do you think, Mariam?
No, I don't think there's a difference. I think all of us, all women, we face the same problems. We cry the same and we get hurt the same. When we get dumped, we say, hey, I don't have a boyfriend. we feel the same issues inside. But I think that the advantage of being, somebody living in Europe here, a woman in Europe, either you African or non-African, is that you have access here. You have access to information. You can do whatever you want to do if you really put some time and effort into it. And you have the system supporting you also. But when it comes to African women living here or African women living in Africa, we don't have the right system sometimes in place to help us. And we don't also have the sisterhood I always call up, and it's quite difficult. It's all in the surface. We try to work together in the continent, but we actually don't work together in deep, which is something I always advocate for us to work more together. But there are some examples of, we have so many women network in Africa, so many women, you can count in thousands, but they're not sustainable. and they don't produce good results when it comes to women development in Africa. I don't know what is that. I try to put that on a deficit of trust maybe, and different cultures, different religions, maybe, I don't know what it is, but it's quite different. Leadership here, for me, I mean, living in the UK, I feel free, I feel independent, and I feel I can write things about the thing that concerns me. You know, maybe also I'm not very related to, you know, social issues, you know, in my mind, maybe that's why. But, you know, there is no, what hurt a white woman here or a woman living in the UK, it hurts us, you know, I think we are all the same. It's just, we don't have the right, we don't have the, you know, there's more advantage in being here than being in Africa sometime, but I think it's picking up in the continent now because we have more role models. We have more women from the diaspora going back home and helping young women, mentoring them, and we have also women leadership in big banks, in, you know, women CEOs, for example, women in tech in Africa. So I think that the more we highlight those women and give them, and some of them are shy, they don't want to come out, but I think the more we highlight African women, you know, because I think that, you know, for a very long time, the African woman has been the object of development. That's thanks to NGOs and all these horrible, you know, NGOs who actually don't understand anything, and I don't like them. They don't like me anyway.
Let's not go there.
It's fine. So I'm free. It's fine. We don't like each other. I know that. But you know, and they've been portraying the African woman as the object of development for many decades. And they don't see the African woman as a CEO or as a businesswoman, and they don't see the African woman actually making it, doing it, running houses, you know, running billions of dollar companies like Nigerians. They run millions of dollars of nairas. These women really have money. I mean, they don't see people like you know, Daphne Ngozi running a mining company in South Africa, you know, from Soweto, humbling backgrounds. And I think the more we highlight African women in power, African women who are doing it and working together as sisters, and I think we'll get there.
Edna, do you agree? I mean, I know one of the richest women in the world is actually a Nigerian. I'm not just saying that because I'm Nigerian, but that's the truth, that she is Nigerian. Yeah.
Well, I think the African woman has more challenges than other women because, well, first of all, not only do you have, you need to prove yourself academically, but then you also have to overcome culture, traditions. You're not expected to become a leader. You're not expected to have your own opinions. You're not encouraged to stand out among the crowd, at least in our culture, because from a young age, little girls are told, come on, you're a girl, be quiet. You're a girl, what do you think you're doing? Who do you think you are? Do you think you're a boy? So it's always this psychological putting down of the girl. And then when everything else fails, then there's always that good excuse, no, our religion doesn't allow that, which is wrong, because our religion doesn't stop a woman, a girl, from becoming educated, from working, from thinking, from developing to her full potential. But it's always a good excuse if nothing else holds you back. I think the challenges are also more acute in Africa. So if anybody has any sense of responsibility or sense of wanting to do something, there's things there all the time to move you and to motivate you to do something about this. And there's so few people doing something about the problems of Africa that the few who feel concerned, that are motivated more forward to do something about it. And then there's the economic. You're uneducated, you have no income, you have no money. Whatever your family owns belongs to the male members of your family. So you have limited access to education, you have hardly any access to resources. The culture is against you. The tradition and a well-brought-up girl doesn't talk in public. You're not going to pick up a microphone and speak to people. I mean, this is always something that is there that you have to overcome. So my answer is yes, women in Africa have more of a challenge towards leadership, to become leaders. And then the few who make it, then become excellent leaders, like the few you have mentioned. And there's great women in Africa. For instance, a great woman who inspired me was from Nigeria when I was nursing. And she spoke so well, and she spoke so confidently, and I thought, one day I'm going to speak like her. I am still not able to speak like her.
I think you are.
But she was a great inspiration. Because you see, we lack role models.
Yeah.
There are too few role models.
But they are breaking through.
But they're breaking
said.
through with
yes.
For me, when I talk about women leadership, one of the things we do on the website, we monitor women political participation. Every time there's an election in Africa, we try to monitor how many women stand, how many were elected. Why are we doing this? Because I think when you talk about women issues, we neglect a lot women in decision making, women in the government. And I personally think that's where the policies are made. If we not there at that table to have our word, our say, all the decisions will be made without us. Yes, we may have a lot of business, which is fantastic, and for me it's really important. We may have women who have got, all this power, but it's all start from the government. So we have to make sure we have got a lot of women who could talk for the one who are not there. But that's something is quite neglected on the country, which is coming back now. Like countries like Senegal, Algeria, Rwanda, we all know. Few countries are really coming to have a quota where we have a certain percentage for women. And then some people would say, well, quota is not so because we don't have the women who have got the, who are really capable to do it. That's not true. There's some fantastic women on the ground, but we have a problem of culture that is here, that men see women as you stay at home, that's your place. And for us, in order to bring those who are capable to that table, we have to have a temporary measure that is out there. So men get used to have a woman in the parliament struggling and fighting with. And then we come to, when it comes to removing those quotas, where anyone could be in. But unless we have that, we still want to have maybe 20 men, 1 woman. So that's why it's really important. When you come to education, there's so many organizations on the ground working on education. But I know when I was little, one woman who made a difference in Guinea she was Minister of Education at the time. And there were a lot of men. We never had that girls at school. And she arrived for the first time. We had that thousands of girls. That was her first campaign. That was her focus. And today she's well known.
Because we're living in very challenging times at the moment. We have Malala, who was shot just for wanting an education. In Nigeria, in the north, we have Boko Haram. We can see what's going on with the Islamic State, and all of them are saying education for girls, at least, is not acceptable. So, I mean, it almost sounds medieval. They want to go back. So with those challenges, I mean, it's even more difficult, isn't it, for women to break through the glass ceiling?
Yeah, but I think that the education for girls is a very bad term for me. And what the NGO
in our
does.
countries, the countries that we come from, education for girls is still, as I was saying, it's still a challenge for girls
but they need to practice
from
that.
Villages to get an education.
You're absolutely right. But the NGOs in the UK here, when they say education for girls, they mean something else.
Oh yeah, of
course. That's what. So when they say education for girls, it needs to be pragmatic education for girls in Senegal, for example, in Mali, in Burkina Faso, in Guinea. But they don't do that, and they run a program around women, around girls like that, and it is not sustainable. And so now I think we need to start monitoring. Maybe that's why the Make Women Fight is very important organization, that we need to start monitoring what education for girls means on the ground locally for these girls, because it's hurting the Boko Haram girls. We can't find those girls. Until now we can't find them. It's terrible.
It is terrible. Sorry, Edna, you wanted to add something. I'll come out to the audience in a moment. I'm being greedy here. I'll be out.
No, but I think education for girls is very important, and one of the things I hope to do while I'm here is to find some teachers to come and help us teach English, and also to help us train school teachers in Somaliland, because there was a survey that was done by UNICEF or UNESCO recently, and out of 1,300 secondary school teachers, only 11 were female. But that's almost zero. When we have a training course in my hospital, and we advertise that we're starting a new course for nurses or midwives or lab technicians or whatever, we get about 300 or 400 applicants, girls, come to apply to these courses. and I'm going to take about 30 or 40 at the end of it. So we go through this process of interviewing them, scrutinizing their background, their schooling, their certificates, and then doing a written exam. And out of the 300 plus applicants, maybe 23, 24 will have the required educational background to get into the course. Yeah. So girls are coming through schools, yes, in numbers, but the quality is missing. And the way I see it, they don't have enough school teachers. They don't have enough women school teachers because they're churning out girls out of schools who don't really have an education.
Because they're having to do the housework before they come or after they come. I really mean that seriously. If you wanted to leave a legacy and a bit of advice to the next generation of women coming up, what would that be?
I think my legacy, if I die today, I would like to find, I would say so many women in school. I would like to see so many women who are, so many African women, young girls, especially in Senegal. Maybe it's happening right now because we have a massive network right now in Senegal for women in tech. It took me 2 hours to create. And you need to check them out. They call it Jigen Hub. They've got 200 girls right now, and they're going all the way to universities to get now. They're creating this representation. So if I die today, and all you need to do think about me is that Mariam wanted to find girls who are into education and tech in Africa, women representation, women in tech, women CIOs sitting down in boards, coding and really talking about technology and innovation in Africa. So that's what I want.
Okay.
I'm
not wishing anyone dead here, but I was just like...
You never know.
Well, we will all get called to other functions elsewhere sooner or later, probably sooner with me than with some of you. But the legacy I would like to leave behind is to leave a sense of responsibility with everybody I get in contact with. We all can contribute. We all must contribute something. In whichever way we feel and we think we can. Don't turn your back. Don't say, I don't care. This is not my problem. I have nothing to do with this. I didn't cause it. We are part of this world, and we have that responsibility to do something about it. And if in my lifetime I have inspired enough people to train as midwives and to help women in Africa to have fewer complications associated with their pregnancy, then I think my presence on this planet would have been justified, because far too many women are dying of causes that no woman should die of in this day and age. Women deserve better care during pregnancy. Our women deserve better care when they're having a baby. Our women have a right to expect maternity care as minimal as it can be, but they need to have it from somebody who's been taught and trained in the care of women.
Thank you so much.
I think I have a mostly message to my, young people like me, who are quite a lot of them in this room. I just want us to see beyond what is happening today in the continent. There's so many organizations working there when it comes to girls' education and things, but is it 1,000, 2,000 numbers enough? It's not. I think we have to see behind those numbers. We have to do the job ourselves. We cannot rely on people coming from anywhere to do the job, because one, they're not going to tackle the problem at the root causes. They come and hoover on top of it, and we go back at the same problem every year. So how we could see beyond number? How can you see, instead of putting 1,000 girls, putting millions of girls, which means influencing policy, but also looking at the situation at a wider angle. So yes, the road, there's still a lot of barriers out there. It's not easy, there's a lot of work, but as the children of the continent, we need to do the job, and we need to see more than other people are able to see. We need to be able to be a role model for the younger generation. Whatever we're doing today, if we give up, they're going to give up, because they would think, well, it's not possible. So whatever we want to do, let's have a hope that there's a young girl there who is looking at us, who would be, using us as a role model. And that's something we underestimate a lot. But it's really important to have a role model. It opens so many doors to you. So it's hard. It's never easy to make a change. We ourselves took a journey where it's something completely different. yes, it's not easy to get funds to do the work we need, to do the resources, but that doesn't mean that it's not having an impact or it's not going to be, it's not something people are, really enjoying or really taking advantage. So my, message to young people is like, let's not give up and let's remember that it's never impossible. It's possible. So
if I can glean something from all of you, we're saying, look, men are part of the solution, education is key, and our future is in our hands. Ladies and gentlemen, our awesome panel, a round of applause for all of them.